What's going on? It's your boy Bowie here, back at it with a video about Mortal Kombat's last patch, MK1's last patch. And the last patch was a hot fix. I'm calling it last patch in quotes because we don't know if this is actually the last patch, but we do know that the definitive edition of Mortal Kombat 1 is being offered now for $60, which will include all the DLC so far, which generally indicates the end of the DLC cycle for a fighting game. But just because we're not getting more DLC does not mean we're not getting more support. So I'm calling this the last patch, but understand last is in air quotes. But in this last patch, there were some winners and there were some losers. One character who's a relative winner is Cyrax, because Cyrax got completely untouched by the patch. There were no changes to her as far as we know, unless there were some stealth changes that we're unaware of as of right now. Another big winner of the patch is Tanya. Tanya's a pretty nice winner now because her forward 2 got reverted to 14 frames, which it never should have been changed to begin with, so I'm happy that that was changed. Also, she got her damage scaling back that she used to have, so that's also very good. That should have never been changed either. She's still not as able to stagger as she used to be, but overall much better position than she was in before. I might even start using her again. Reiko is a huge winner of this patch because now he can tick throw into his command grab on block, his air command grab, and if it works on Johnny Cage, it probably works on everybody because now it doesn't whiff anymore. So people can't poke out of the command grab. They might be able to armor or probably make a read and leap or something. Well, maybe not leap because it's an air command grab. But still, Reiko is a huge winner. Scorpion got an overhead because now his spin move is an overhead, which is crazy. Probably the biggest loser was obviously T-1000. He got a bevy of nerfs, mostly related to the scaling of his jump 3-2. His command grab's a little slower. I think his projectile has less range. Liu Mei is also a big winner of the patch. She got a lot of adjustments to recoveries and things of that nature. But you know me. If you watch this channel, then you know I'm here to talk about Sub-Zero. And how Sub-Zero is a major winner in today's patch. The quote-unquote last patch. So Sub-Zero got one change. His scaling. So now, after every freezing move, Sub-Zero has decreased damage scaling. Now, on the surface, that change, might not seem all that innocuous, or it might seem innocuous, but let me tell you, it's quite impactful. It's very impactful. So let's start with just doing meterless damage. Hold on. I gotta get used to using this controller again. So that's 29%. Right. I'm so used to not even using this controller. Yeah, that's 29%. Hold on. I think I was able to get this going. Oh, maybe it only works against timing. I don't know. Well, the more consistent combo is this. except I just dropped it immediately. Whatever. So, Sub-Zero gets more damage anytime he uses anything. Like, that didn't used to give me 23 damage. That used to give me like 200 right there, right? I don't even remember what this combo used to do, to be honest with you. Ironically enough, I do think that was unchanged, because I seem to recall getting 34% with this before. I'd have to go back and check. However, this right here, the EX Polar Palm, definitely gives you more damage. We're getting 37% from our mid. And that's not even optimal. Let me see here. This character gets 389 from a bar, for a bar, by himself. From his mid. So that means that from all his other strings, if he does that same combo, he's going to get a little bit less than that. But from a standing one punish, he's getting 36 into corner carry from his footsie button. If you're just adamant about using Ice Clone in your combos, which I advise that you don't do, you get 37%. But as you can see, you don't need to do that, because you can just carry people to the corner without using a clone, and then you can put up a clone right after. So Sub-Zero can just do a corner carry combo. And as you can see, that was one little baby sequence. I spent a bar of meter, and that was 70%, right? And the reason why I'm making a big deal of this is because off of every freezing move, the scaling is lower. That also includes Ice Clone, believe it or not. So let's go in the corner here. So if I put up a clone, and freeze a fool into it, I don't believe that used to do 17%. I think he used to just get 15% from a throw combo. Of course, I would be doing the consistent combo, which was this right here for me. Yeah, that does 16% now, where it didn't used to do that. It used to do 15, right? But as you can see, I was able to do 17 just by myself, right? Of course, if you do this combo here, that's 270 by himself, and a clone can pop up right after. You see what I'm saying? Now, with certain cameos, like, say, Janet Cage here, you can extend this even further. That's 200. That's 20%. From a clone. And I need you to understand that this is loopable, so I do a clone throw. And then I can do it again. I can immediately do it again. And I don't have to end in a slide either. I can end like that and then do it again. what I'm saying? Like, these are things that Sub-Zero can loop. So because clone, not left. Because there's less damage scaling on clone, we hit harder when people get frozen. You know what I'm saying? Let's have the opponent. Let's just have him walk forward. All right. Hold on. That used to do 44%. Now it's doing basically 47%. So if you happen to get the opponent to walk into clone with Janet Cage, they eat 46%. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. So an ill-timed poke from clone or into clone can lead to them losing 46% of their health. Obviously, this damage buff affects every Sub-Zero variation, because anyone that uses this is going to be positively impacted by this buff. But y'all know I've been on this campaign with Janet, and there are very few pairings that are more positively affected by this damage buff than this team right here, because this was already Sub-Zero's highest damaging team anywhere on screen. But now Sub-Zero legitimately does half-life combos mid-screen. Watch and see. If I don't drop it, that was dumb. Bruh, I keep doing it too early. I dropped the shit and it was 497. That did not used to do 517 damage before. That did 48 or 49%. So I went from more or less 49% to 52%. So across the board, with some of Sub-Zero's biggest combos, he's getting 3% extra damage. And mind you, what impact does this have? It means that from his footsie string, he's now getting 495. 49.5% from a damn 10 frame normal that hits from out here. From a punish string, he's going to get 48% with this character if I don't drop. Bruh, I'm being way too early. What the hell? Can I stop dropping, please? That's damn near 49. So if you round it, 49% from a stand 1. 49% from this. 52% from that. Hell, even from an errant dive kick. Let's say you know the opponent's gonna poke and you hit him with this. This is about to do 50%. %50 of their life right there. That's half-life from a dive kick. So a dive kick will provide half-life. What the hell? Thank you. I forgot how good this D-pad is. This shit's the bomb. But anyway, so with this team, this becomes a two-touch character. And in even some cases, a one-touch character. Because some of you may remember that I have a combo that leads directly into the Heavenly Strike. Bruh, I did it way too early. I dropped that, and that did a gigaton of damage. Let me see. Oh, I didn't mean to throw. I meant to move it low. Look at that. Look at that fuck. Look at the damage, bro. %92%. 92%. Because that pretty much kills right there. 92% from a mid screen gives corner carry and pressure. I can throw out a clone right after all that shit. You see what I'm saying? So this character already hit really hard with this particular cameo. But with this buff, now he hits even harder across the board. Even a random ass low becomes very dangerous, because that low is going to lead to half of your life being taken away. 51% from a random ass low. Now, mind you, Scorpion Sonya is 1,000 health team. But now, with characters like T1000 being nerfed, and other characters like that, there are going to be more 950, 900 health teams in the game. And when you fight one of the characters that has less than 1,000 health, this becomes very devastating to them. Because now Sub-Zero is now putting out damage that is greater than or equal to that of the rest of the cast. And hell, I forgot to mention, even if you don't use the Gento shit, let's say you pick up Sub-Zero Janet and you're like, I don't use Gento. I'm not ready to use Gento. You ain't gotta. You ain't gotta. Watch this shit. You ain't gotta. You ain't gotta. Look at that. 43% into a goddamn clone. 43% into a clone. Hold on. So notice I use clone in my combo now. And I set up a clone again. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, even when Gento is not in play, this damage buff really helps our character out a lot. Because he's more or less getting 3% extra damage across the board. You know what I'm saying? He's getting 3% damage across the board. This is going to be basically 36%. Corner carry, meterless. Back 3 in the clone. You see what I'm saying? Like, this is great for him. Sub-Zero eats good. And because they decided to buff, or the scaling on his freeze, that means that we are incentivized to use this a lot. And we're really incentivized to use this. And then here's the thing with the Gento stuff. My combo is not the most optimal combo that can be done. People like Combo Heaven and other Sub-Zero players, they use the 2-1 string in their Gento combos. They were already doing half-life before this, or getting close to it. Now their combos are going to do even more damage. So they're probably going to be hitting 53, possibly even pushing 54 and 55% mid-screen with Sub-Zero. I think that's great. So, I'm making this video to make the case that Sub-Zero won in this patch. He won in a major way. Now, am I going to be bombastic and claim that this takes him right to the top of the tippity top tier list? I ain't going to say all that. I don't know that. We don't know. I would argue we still don't quite know where he is. We didn't even know where he was in the last meta because, you know, yes, he's been explored at the highest level, kind of, but not fully, right? But that's okay. Now that he does more damage, this is going to help him out. And then several of his cameos got buffed. Maybe not so much Tremor, but certainly Darius got buffed. Sub-Zero got buffed. You know what I'm saying? So, excuse me, some of the more niche teams like Sub-Zero, 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 Darius, they're more tanky now. And they hit harder because Sub-Zero hits harder. Sub-Zero, he's getting 37. And this ain't even optimal. The optimal is to do stand 4 after that shit. Let's see if I can hit that. Bruh. What the hell? Can I get my stand 4, please? There we go. Ooh! Oh shit, let's see what that does with Janet. Hold on. I was gonna call out Janet. Hold on. I'm just fucking around now. Yeah, okay. Oh shit. Yeah, so this character, the damage buff helps out quite a bit. Especially because we've seen the difference that 5% extra health makes in this game. You know, a lot of people downplayed the buffs that certain cameos provided health-wise and the nerfs that they provided health-wise, only to find out later that that extra health that you gain or lose is actually very, very, very important in a game like this, where characters two-touch you. It's very, very important. So him getting 3% extra damage on grounded combos, getting extra damage on ice clones and throws into clone, that winds up being very important for Sub-Zero in all kinds of ways. Okay? It helps every team. So if this is indeed our last patch, which again I strongly suspect it is not, but just in case it is, let it be understood that Sub-Zero had all of his issues addressed in some kind of way. Now, I understand this move was not made as ideal as it should have been. It's still too slow. I get that. But we can do this. Okay? We can do this. And because we can do that, the ice ball being bad as hell doesn't really sting as bad. Or it shouldn't sting as bad. Why is my shit? There we go. It should not sting nearly as bad. Even that was addressed. I just was dropping it. That's more consistent than it was when Polar Palm dropped for the first time. This even helps his anti-air game because Sub-Zero does a string in the Polar Palm and gets damage from that. He's going to get more damage from anti-airs. You know? So, Sub-Zero players, I'm speaking directly to you now. We need to stop crying and start playing. Start labbing. Level up our game. Level up our cameo usage. Some of us, and I will include myself in this, have only used 1 or 2 cameos at a time. Sub-Zero cannot cover every matchup he has with a single cameo or just 2 cameos. You need to be proficient in about 3 of them. At least 3, maybe even more. Okay? You need to be very proficient in 3 or 4 different cameos used for different types of characters. I believe one of those cameos is Sub-Zero Sub-Zero. You know what I'm saying? Y'all need to watch Where's Hanzo when he uses Sub-Zero Sub-Zero. Y'all need to copy him. Okay? Because there's no way that Sub-Zero isn't very good in a bunch of different matches that he probably wouldn't be as good in if he were using Chameleon or Cyrax or some other shit. You know what I'm saying? People need to stop ruling out Sub-Zero Janet because as you can see, this team gets giga damage. And so if it touches you, you just melt. Okay? But all of Sub-Zero's issues have been addressed in some way, shape, or form. Even if it wasn't in the ways that we wanted or asked for, they have been addressed somehow. Now his damage is no longer a problem. We can stop whining about that now. As a matter of fact, we can stop whining in general. Okay? If this is the last patch of the game, Sub-Zero came out of it a winner. Okay? We have a character that can and does compete. He's not stupid. He's not broken. He's not busted. But he's very solid. Okay? So we have to be even more solid in order to, extract the most out of him. Anything less than that, you're asking to get your ass whooped. And that's the truth of the matter. So we're going to have to level up, plain and simple. Because it's looking right now that like that's all we're going to get. All right. But with that being said, I just wanted to encourage y'all to lab, let you know some of the effects of this last patch. Y'all let me know how y'all feel in the comments. I'll catch y'all later. stay froze.